signing an MOU for the collaboration of the trainings and different enhancements.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, let's put a hand together. The Zero Mile Samvad is experiencing an exchanging of MOU between Quick Heal, India's biggest cyber security company, and IIM Nagpur to develop joint programs on cyber security. So congratulations to IIM Nagpur and Quick Heal for such a great initiative. Sanjay Katkar and Kailash both are here, the co-founders of Quick Heal. And they have been participating, of course, in the session and the two-day conference. So thank you so much. And I am Nagpur, look forward for your continued cooperation. Thank you so much.
I extend a warm welcome to the panelists, Lieutenant General Vineet Gaur, AVSM, Director General Capability Development, Major General Vasudhesh Arya, Retired Executive Director, Solar Group Defense, Mr. Vaibhav Dange, Member of Board of Governor, IIM Nagpur, and the panel moderator, Professor Shailendra Nigam, Faculty, IIM Nagpur. I now request the panel moderator, Professor Shailendra Nigam, to honor our guest with a bouquet to express our gratitude.
Lieutenant General Vineet Gaur is an alumni of IMA Dehradun and was commissioned in the Corps of EME in 19 December 1989. The officer has had an exceptionally brilliant academic career. He was awarded Chancellor's Gold Medal for all-round best graduating student of the university during his BTech. The General also topped his MTech course in Reliability Engineering from IIT Mumbai. He is an alumni of CDM and the prestigious NDC. Lieutenant General Vineet Gaur has held various appointments in command and staff, such as CO, 15 Core Z Workshop, Director in EME Directorate, Brig EME in 33 Core, DACIDS at HQ IDS, Brig MS at MS Branch, IHQ Ministry of Defence, and MGEME HQ Northern Command. The General Officer was also a maintenance officer in UNIFIL Lebanon. His instructional appointments include Instructor Class B at MCME Secunderabad and DS at CDM Secunderabad. He is presently tenanting the appointment of DG, Capability Development, CD Directorate, Integrated Headquarters of Ministry of Defence since 26 December 2022. For his excellence in professional services, he has been awarded the GOCNC Northern Command Commendation in 2008, COAS Commendation in 2010, and GOCNC RTRAC Commendation in 2012. For his distinguished service, the General Officer has been awarded AVSM in 2023.
Our next guest, Major General Vasudhesh Arya, Retired Executive Director, Solar Group Defense. He is an alumnus from National Defence Academy, Kadar Vastia, and was commissioned to a regiment of artillery in June 1986. As a young captain, he was instructor in Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, where he was responsible for pre-commissioning training of gentlemen cadets. He is a graduate of Defence Service Staff College, Wellington, and instructor in gunnery from School of Artillery, Devyali. He had the rare distinction of being the first commissioned officer of the unit to have commanded the same unit on the line of control in Poonch, Rajouri sector in Jammu and Kashmir. The general officer had an eventful stint as director MI5 in Army headquarters before attending the prestigious HDMC course in the College of Defence Management, Secunderabad. As a brigadier, he commanded an artillery brigade in the Strike Corps in Western Theatre and Missile Brigade in Strategic Force Command. He was also a Deputy General Officer commanding of 36th Infantry Division, a Brigadier Administration of 101 area in Shillong. As Major General, he has held prestigious appointments of Major General Administration in HQ, Southwestern Command in Jaipur, and Major General GSSD and WE in Headquarters, Western Command in Chandi Mandir, from where he superannuated in October 2022, having put the 37 years of service for his nation. Then he joined as an Executive Director for Solar Group EEL Defense on 1st November 2023.
Mr. Vaibhav Dange is a well-known figure in the infrastructure industry of India. Okay. We have Dr. Shailendra Nigam as a Professor of Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences as a moderator. We would now hand over the event to you, sir.
Thank you, friends. Good afternoon, everyone. So we have a very special topic on which we can hear right from the horse's mouth that what we are looking forward to with regards to self-reliant India or Atmanirbhar Bharat in the field of defense. We have the three major stakeholders today with us, and we can get enlightenment with regards to what they intend to have, how they intend to offer, and what are the challenges in bridging this gap. So as the first stakeholder, I have Lieutenant General Vineet Gaur, who is on the ground zero to talk about what is required, how much is required, of what standards it's required, and who can deliver it. And for this, I have a specific question for him, which I would like him to address, that in the military domain, we actually talk about global standards, which are essentially Western concepts, whether it is tech, whether it is capability from the equipments, or whether it is about the warfare tools, or whether it is transparency and decision making, everything is being talked about from the Western concept of global standards. Now, in the face of our threat with our adversaries like China, who selectively follow global standards, can India really look forward for global standards and then develop their own necessities as per the requirements? Sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, my gratitude to Professor and Dr. Maitre and the entire IIM Nagpur fraternity to, first of all, invite defense leadership as part of the global thought on leadership and this zero-mile Samvad. So that's, first of all, is a very, heartening to start with, that you've included the defense leadership to talk about defense manufacturing as one of the subjects to talk about. Now, there is a lot of ground which we need to cover as far as self-reliance is concerned, and you're primarily talking about how do we become self-reliant? Do we take global standards? Do we not? So first, the self-reliance in defense is an extremely, extremely important topic. We've been working on it for many, many years. So I will cover first self-reliance in defense. And I'll cover it in three parts. And I'll start where we were, where we are, and where are we likely to go. And in that journey, I will cover about the standards. So let's start where we were. When we started, we had just about 12 ordnance factories when the Britishers left us. Very rudimentary industry, nothing much being produced. Whatever was being produced was what the Britishers wanted us to produce. And India became independent. We had just 12 ordnance factories. No indigenous technology. Because the technology of the West was, and particularly the Britishers were taking material from us, the raw material from us, producing it in their own country and bringing it back and selling it to the world. So with those 12 ordnance factories, we had nowhere to go as far as self-reliance and defense is concerned. And in 1956, a very important thing came, which is called the Industrial Policy Resolution, wherein at that time, maybe it was the right thing to do, that the defense manufacturing of arms and ammunition were reserved for the public sector. And the private sector was deliberately kept out of it. From 56, in 1958, we had the DRDO, which came with around 10 odd laboratories. So see how it is building up. Today, DRDO is with 53 labs. The ordnance factories are 41 of them, now of course changed into, corporatized into DPSUs. The entire setup remained largely public, and therefore the private sector could never contribute to the growth. For nearly 5 decades, the Indian defense industry was only limited to some sparks of brilliance which came from DRDO, which primarily started with the missile development, where we had the Prithvi, Akash, Nag, Trishul, which we had LCA, we had Arjun. We slowly graduated to making some weapon systems. While we were making these weapon systems, the primary or the core technology always came from the countries which actually used to own those technologies, where they have been working for years together to produce that technology. We never got that technology. All we got was the integration capability of some of these technologies into a platform. And therefore, the private sector never got any sort of thing. And defense is a very peculiar market, where you find the only buyer for a defense market or for the defense equipment is your own government. And if you do not have an assured order from that single market or the single buyer that you have, it is very difficult for any private industry to invest unless you start become globally competitive and you start. So the global standards come there. The moment you start becoming globally competitive, you have to follow global standards. And therefore, when you look at private sector, it will invest in the country today for not only your own requirement, but will also do some sort of exports. And that's precisely what is happening. In 2020, the Honorable Prime Minister gave 2 targets to the Indian defense industry. The first target was that by 2025, you will have 1,70,000 crores of annual production. And by 2025, you will have 40,000 crores of exports. Where have we reached so far? The last financial year, we had 1,07,000 crores in defense production, and we had 16,000 crores in the exports. And ironically, while 70% orders for the Indian government for our own requirement went to the public sector, and only 30% went to the private, but when it came to exports, it was the 70% of the exports of the 16,000 went from the private sector, and only 30% went from the public sector, which means that the private sector has the necessary wherewithal to be globally competitive. It will only be globally competitive if it follows the global standards. Therefore, it is not possible for us to go the way Chinese or any other such country is going, which produces certain things, hiding certain standards because it doesn't want those standards to proliferate to global standards, or it does not want to use those global standards for producing something. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. So this year it's already 1 lakh crores domestic production meant out of your 5.5 lakh crores, which was put across by the defense minister in February 23. So already you are in the verge of $1 trillion of production in domestic in India. Fine. Now looking at this opportunity, I already have with us another esteemed panelist, retired Major General Arya. Now, he's a person who was actually in the field earlier, and now he's on the other side of the table trying to facilitate what General Gaur has talked about, that what are the needs and how it is being looked at, and what the mandate was given by the Prime Minister of India. So, General Arya, I have a specific question for you, which says that is our industrial sector really geared up both from public and private aspects to address the perspectives what has been talked about by General Gaur?
Good evening to this entire audience, and it's actually a privilege to be called here to the management institute, which is actually is cynosure of all eyes here in Nagpur. Everybody looks up to you people, and thank you so much for calling us. I retired last year. I never thought that I'll come into this side of, the table that he's talking about, from, having been in the decision-making process in the Indian Army and now graduating into the corporate sector. But maybe I'm lucky, pure lucky, that I met a gentleman like that who could show me something which is unique in this place. I never knew that Nagpur had such kind of facility. When I came to the city, this is the first time that I came to the city, and I had never imagined a city which has already been built to a future prospect. It doesn't require metros to be running the way it is. It doesn't require metro the way it is run in Delhi. But yet this city was futuristic, both in the terms of capability development as well as the infrastructure which has come up. I'm also talking of the company that I am in now. I'm in Solar EEL. In fact, the subsidiary is EEL Defense that I come and see. Now, what you really ask me is whether we are equipped, or the defense industry is equipped to take on the kind of challenges which General Gaur has talked about.
Yes.
First of all, the major, the point which comes to my mind is, what is self-reliance all about? First, this question is actually a moot point in this. Is self-reliance farm to fridge? Is that what self-reliance is all about? Is it from pin to the, the aircraft, or pin to that gun, or pin to that ship, everything we are going to make it? Is that what is self-reliance is? Or is self-reliance something like, related to our national interest? Because national security is something which is not negotiable. We are not talking about that. We can't do anything about that part. Yes, but national interest is something which is, again, permanent, which is ours. Today we are dealing with Russia on one hand, and even USA wants to deal with us. There was a time we were total pariahs. We were going with a begging bowl to USA, saying technology de do. They would give us something, but not give us the technology. They'll not share with you. Today also, you think that they're going to give you a technology? No, they're not going to give you any technology. It is something which we have to develop on our own. It is something which I have to make in my own kitchen. Yeah. Now, if that be so, the industry has to equip itself on its own. Yes. It is not going to get it. It was never getting it then. It is never going to get it now. You mean to say they're going to give you a Rafale, or they're going to give you a Predator and expect you to make it yours own self? No, the TOT is not going to get it in a similar fashion that we are thinking of. Today, sitting in EEL, we absorb TOTs. We get TOTs. And I know how difficult is it to absorb that TOT which I get it from DRDO. Still, there is a lot of, that last mile connection is required in that TOT. I have to work, my R&D has to work tirelessly to make the TOT a success. So the industry also has to look inwards. It is not that I'm going to get it. That R&D that we are talking about, the figures have been given by General Gaur. The R&D that we are talking about, how much of money are we getting in R&D? How much of money is being pumped into institutes today where R&D, can be IDEX, we are talking about IDEX. Now, in IDX, how much of money has been given? How much is coming down, that 1 rupee, how much is it coming to the thinking people, or to that think tank which is going to work on that particular philosophy? So my point is, the entire ecosystem, first of all, has to start thinking that way. Our thinking has to graduate. We in 60s, 70s, yes, we were developing. We came out of 47, our country was poor. We were trying to bring everybody together. There was a debate of, guns versus butter. That's always, isn't it? The guns versus butter debate is always there in economist mind. But today, we have to graduate out of it. We have to see something more. Economists have to see something out of the box and give us a solution to that. So my thought process to that, sir, is yes, industry today will have to equip itself. I'll talk about the talent and how we nurture it and how we have to work towards progressing towards that in later talk of discussions that we're going to have.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you, General Arya. That's what I was thinking when I wrote this question, that is our industries really geared up for this specific challenge which General Gaur was talking about. Now, from the point of view of policy making and what you are talking about, the economists should give the thinking head, or the ecosystem should be created for all these aspects. We are privileged to have with us a person who has been a policy influencer, a person who has been part of policy making. So my question to our esteemed Mr. Dange is, what challenges you see for the policy makers in order to facilitate both these aspects which are being touched base by one, the end user as of now, and the other person talking about how industry needs the support in order to be ready and thinking on these lines, and institutions to be facilitated to really pump in that talent which is required to deliver these aspects. Sir.
Thank you, Professor Nigam. Carrying forward what General Gaur and General Arya mentioned, I think the self-reliance or self-resilience in defense or in economic perspective are not contrary to each other. They are probably the part of the, or two sides of the same coin. For example, as General Gaur was saying, we have seen an era where when we were, completely dependent on the our friendly countries for our defense need, and that directly puts a threat to our national safety and security. At the same time, for example, the post-WTO era, when the world has become a global economy in true sense, unless we have enough value-added economic activities that are happening. For example, our defense import and our exports will never match in terms of our trade deficits with developed countries like US or Russia. So the value addition both from our defense necessities, our security and safety are of our country, the integrity and safety of our country, and from the economic resilience perspective. And I'm sure last 10 years has seen a phenomenal change from the policy perspective in this era. For example, I was saying to General Gaur, the defense has started a program where they are throwing a challenge of the problems which defense are facing, whether it is Army, Navy or Air Force, and they are conducting a very sustained, interactions with the startups and the young talented minds, and thousands of solutions are being addressed by these young startups. There are so many solutions that are being offered by young startups, and that's probably the beginning of the larger resilience or self-reliance which we are talking about. And if we are able to build that ecosystem in the next 10 years, say for example, General Arya has been very modest, but his is the company which has the world's biggest high energy production facility based out of in India and based out of in Nagpur. So I think companies like that, and there are n number of, I know a company which has built a state-of-art R&D center in Ukraine, post the USSR disintegration, and looking at opportunities which were there. But an Indian company took over the R&D center in Ukraine and is now powering the Indian research for the support and necessity of India's self-reliance. So I think things like that could be possible because government has been proactive with a broader objective of truly, as some of the co-panelists and you have said, the Atmanirbharta at the core of thought process. So I think if that objective and that thought process in mind, I'm sure industry is ready. I'm sure government, the defense forces are ready, and I'm sure the young talent in this country is ready. For example, in the last session, Deputy CM was saying there are 4 defense companies who have started. For example, aerospace is becoming a great source of, attracting investment in city like Nagpur, and that's happening in the every part of, India, every nook and corner of India. So I think the opportunities are huge, tremendous, and fortunately, India has proven time and again that our talent, our industry, our private sector is not only capable, but also committed to ensure whatever that takes to make India self-reliant. And probably what was lacking was the right kind of environment, policy environment from the government and a proactive support from the government and the defense sector. And I must congratulate the policymaker at the helm of these affairs and the defense forces for positively taking those discussions forward and creating an ecosystem where challenges are thrown and industry and private sector talent is coming up with a solution. We have seen that in challenges like COVID, that industry has responded. India has built COVID vaccines as the fastest pace that anywhere in the world. Huge production of COVID vaccines and 150 crore people are vaccinated today. Nobody could have imagined India could do it. So I think India has enough talent, and with the right policy framework in place and an ecosystem in place, I am sure there is absolutely no reason why we can't be self-reliant.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I have few more questions, but unfortunately, I don't have the time to really put a... If I can have one last question to General Gaur, that the industry 4.0 has revolutionized the warfare. And we are looking at new tech, cutting edge tech coming into play as far as the warfare tools which are being used. What Indian defenses are looking at with regards to the new tools, and what support you expect from the government on those lines? Thank you.
Firstly, a little bit about the government support and the policy. I think today the era has changed. That era that the government was not giving enough support to those who want to innovate, I think that era is gone. Today, the challenges are being thrown to the industry, starting from the startups to MSMEs. And when they come back with a solution, that solution is rewarded immediately through an order. This research, which the private sector is going to do, needs to be funded. So let's start from how is it funded. So the simplest way is to throw a problem statement or a problem challenge and then give that problem statement straight away to the industry as an open challenge or as a challenge that can you take on this challenge. And there are n number of startups and MSMEs who are taking up that challenge and coming up. And we have a program called IDEX, which is Innovation for Defense Excellence. We have a program called TDF, this Technology Development Fund, where starting from 1.5 crore to up to 10 crores is given by the government for all these startups to start working on that idea. If they succeed in that idea, there is an assured minimum order. It is true that in case of defense, unless there is a minimum assured order to somebody who invests the skill, somebody who is investing his time, energy, and money, if it is not rewarded in the same breath with certain order, you will find that it is going to die down. So the MSMEs, startups are getting the necessary push from the government. Let's look at the bigger industries today. Today, look at a program like a light tank. So if an industry, private industry has to invest in a light tank program, it needs huge amount of capital. And how do we get that capital is that we said 70% of the capital will come from the government and 30% capital will come from you, and you will thereafter go ahead and making the program. So this idea that the government is not giving enough support, I think is the thing of the past. The industry is ready. Industry is working along with the government. The academic institutions are working along with the government, and the armed forces are working along with this entire setup. And this entire setup is today ready to take India to a self-reliance defense forces. Yes, certain amount of technologies which were talked about, nobody gives you technology, that is correct. But at the same time, nobody produces all technologies themselves. There are certain technologies which will be readily available, which you can buy through your deeper pockets, and there will be certain technologies for you to work hard from scratch. There are countries which have invested 30, 40 years on developing niche technologies and core technologies. I think we have to go the same way. There is no shortcut to developing core technologies. We will have to work harder, but time is not far that this this revolution which has happened in the Indian defense industry in last 10 years will be faster than any other country in terms of becoming self-reliant for those core technologies. So the answer is very clear. Initially, start working on the core technologies, try and use the diplomatic sources. What the Prime Minister's visit did when he went to US, he got some of the technologies which were not coming otherwise because of the money alone. There will be diplomatic considerations, there will be strategic considerations which will get us niche technologies, and balanced technologies have to start from the academic establishments, from the academia, from the industry, and that's the way to go forward.
Professor Nigam, I want to just give one viewpoint into that what was talked earlier, and if I have a minute. Yeah. And it is regarding that ecosystem that one talks about. Nagpur being a place, once you come and see a facility like, I'll be very, now talk about solar. If you come and see, I don't know how many people have seen this defense establishment there, the way we are coming up, or we have come up and we have started producing, world class, the ammunition out there. One has to see that can you create an ecosystem, something like what Aurangabad did to auto manufacturing, or what Tirupur did to textile? Okay. Can we go global and make Nagpur as a hub on which the entire auxiliaries and ancillaries can come up? What an idea. Can we have a small industries coming up right next to where solar is?
Fine.
So that is a kind of,
that's the
thought
ecosystem
process.
you are talking.
The ecosystem we talk, something of, what we do it in, we were doing in California, like where Stanford had come, where there was VCs down on the Sand Hill Road, something like that. So if the entire ecosystem comes up, that is how we are going to progress.
Fine.
My thought process now comes down to why Nagpur? Because Nagpur is one of the places where all the coal industries, the mining, everything is there. All the kind of raw material that comes from here gives us the thing. Why can't we have the defense industry corridor also coming somewhere in Nagpur, where we can develop something,
the two corridors
the
are already
entire
there.
Corridor coming up.
One in Tamil Nadu and one in UP.
Yeah, so there has to be a thought process to those lines.
Fine. So, but General Arya, there's another aspect Sir was talking about, that government has to look at 1.4 billion people. So when they decide on these things, they try to bring out a balance between the necessities and the ecosystem already existing, or I am bring out at a place where an ecosystem is possible to be created.
No, I'm saying so. I'm not contesting that part at all. But what I'm saying is, today it is not either or. It is not either or. It is, we have to include everybody.
Yes.
I'm saying let us be and.
Yes.
Not either or.
No, definitely.
So it's a matter of collaboration. I'm not going to produce everything. I'm not self-reliant in everything that I'm talking about. But yes, we have to get everybody on board on this.
Fine, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry to the audience. You might be having some questions for our esteemed panelists, but we already have General Pandey with us, and we have to start the next session. We would be more keen to listen to him, what he intends to talk about the defense systems in India. So thanks for being a patient audience. Thank you very much. Thanks, General Gaur and General Arya, for enlightening us on this aspect. Our students are really enlightened with, as well as the delegates sitting here. Thank you very much.